Well, hello and good evening and good morning and good everything to everyone in this beautiful world today. How are you on this tremendous Tuesday? I hope everyone is wonderful and having a good time. And yeah, we are back with Tom Althouse. Hello, Tom. Hello, Morné. How are you guys today?
Nice to see you.
It's good.
Yeah. Good to see you too, Tom. Really cool. So we've been having a bit of an off-air chat as well, and as per usual, everyone is up to all sorts of shenanigans. These are definitely interesting times. But what we thought, in fact, Morné came up with the idea, which I also agree, and it's a really cool one. In our last chat, we spoke about, according to your work, the matrix. Where would you say we are, and what's coming up, and stuff like that as well. So, but I think as many of us have realized at this point and realizing is that a lot of the shadowy ones, their plans are falling awry. Things I don't believe are going quite as well as anticipated. I think with this whole spiky flu thing going on here, a lot more people woke up than what they anticipated. So there's a lot more awareness. I mean, I can just know from when we started our channel 2 years ago now, can you believe? And to the awareness that people had then and the awareness that people have now is actually amazing. So I do believe as well that we are maybe moving onto a different timeline, so to speak, or a different frequency or a different dimension. You know, we can call it what you want as well because of the awakening. And that really is what is needed, is that people wake up. You know, our slogan is shining light on evolving times. And it really is. Doesn't matter what you're shining it on. I mean, you're not just shining light on beautiful things. What we're doing is shining light on some very, very nasty things that have been occurring as well, you know. But I think it's lovely to see people being aware. Not as many people as cognitively dissonant as what they were 2 years ago. I definitely think that's happened. So I believe that maybe we are also moving on to a different timeline at this time. So I would like to know, in your work, The Matrix, was it anticipated that humanity, as we currently are awakening in the way that we are and with the speed that we are? And if not, for example, what would the changes be now, and what would be the probable outcome or a potential outcome around that, just from what you've written and what you've seen and all of that? Anyway, that's a long, very many layered question, and I hope you can process all that I've asked.
Layers are my swimming pool, so no problem.
I know. This is why I must have confidence in you. I have confidence, Tom.
Yeah, you just filled the pool. So basically what's interesting is in the actual work that I've been holding up the screenplay that's caused all this stuff in Hollywood throughout is the idea that my character is actually doing in real life what was in the screenplay. And that's been pointed out by Hollywood people. They said, like, we put you in your own screenplay. Well, the work talks about the individual. And what's interesting is Terminal List has Jim Reese, and my character's name would be Jim Reese in the original work. And they have it on the Terminal List now, which is a lot layered in that. But the idea is that my character is doing exactly what I'm doing in real life. What I'm doing in real life, my character does in the screenplay. Thomas A. Neo is doing in real life. What I mean is trying to whisper through art, trying to get word out, trying to help people, trying to get the course changed from a one world society. He knows the one world society is coming because he's been groomed by the inside. Now it couldn't be more real than ever. We are in our own film. Yes, I agree. And all of us are in it. And the work was meant for all. So it's so many dimensions and layers to this. And the idea I thought was great too with Morné here, when we're talking off air, the parallel worlds, parallel timelines. The timeline has changed. In the screenplay, the timeline changes in that world, where the plans of the nefarious are then rerouted and derailed by the character that is in the film, the main character, the one. And what's interesting is they echo it through all their materials too. A layer to this is how they're echoing it through Man in the High Castle, Minority Report, a lot of Philip K. Dick novels that he didn't want his work altered. They're putting all this added stuff in that pertains specifically to the author. And one of the comments they'll have up here is, he thinks it's all about him, how egotistical. No. I'm being told by Hollywood people that they have focused on this work by this author. It's not by my choice. It's not by my choice to have my sons die. It's not by my choice to have my last son under threat. It's not by my choice to be in extreme poverty, under threat constantly, to be hauled off by SWAT teams because I wrote a work. There's no glamour in it. There's no glory in it. It's living hell. So when people say, oh, how egotistical of Tom to think that it's about him, then we go to what I sent Morné from Man in the High Castle. And Morné, the clip I sent you, the three different stills I sent you, I think Hollywood is mocking it, saying clearly, yeah, it's about the author and his work. That's not by my choice.
Do you want me to share that, Tips?
Yeah, if you can share it, I think it's pretty interesting. I think it's interesting to stick that in there, including what's before it. But if that goes with the point, if Shanti, I don't want to derail this, but it's a layered question where does this involve the author? Does this work matter? When the Matrix, they put in Animatrix the exact birthday, 7/2/59, when the first graphic in the Matrix itself, where the Wachowskis put, has what? Tom Anderson, my Scottish clan name, Tom A. Anderson, my dad's name, my birthday, my high school, and then he put this in the Man in the High Castle. Now you gotta laugh at this, because what are they saying? This is the Man in the High Castle who changed the world through his art, and they're telling me he deals with me. Now look what you have here in Man in the High Castle. This isn't from Philip K. Dick. This is stuck in. So you go back to that first graphic again, and look what they're doing. The Man in the High Castle, who has changed the world through his art, is arrested, right? And the first thing he says when he's arrested and put in the cell is this: for God so loved the world. Next slide. That he gave his only begotten son. Next slide. Tom. It's a mockery. It's blasphemy. It's a mockery. They keep saying, oh, Tom's egotistical, and they have their shills do this too. He's a narcissist. He thinks it's all about him. The clever game they're trying to play is they are making it all about the author. They're making it all about the work taken, and they're saying the Man in the High Castle's work has changed the world. They're saying throughout Hollywood, your work has changed the world, the way people perceive things. Therefore, that's why all this terrible stuff has happened to my family, and why my sister is controlled by the very man in the FBI, who's also Pennsylvania congressman, lifelong FBI from Hollywood, giving her major rewards, turning her into a monster, where he's the man that uprooted Ukraine in 2015. So what's interesting?
I just want to add, while you're speaking about that, it's very interesting because we actually did an interview with Penny Shepherd maybe a week or two ago, who's actually spoken about very similar stuff that you speaking about as well. Where she was also in the entertainment industry for many years. I think she was more into the musician. But also the husbands, the partners, that sort of thing. It's very, very interesting in how they've fitted that into, her character into, I think it's Stranger Things, Agent X or something like that. It's actually quite amazing what's happening. So
they did it in Lost too. They put Penny and I both in Lost. It's really wild. Penny Shepherd is the character's name. Tom is in there too. It's like they put our names in Lost together. Wow. They try to plan who will be connected. They allow that connection. And it's supposed to be like we're lost in these worlds, their world. But actually they're in our world. You can say they're in our film. So that's what the
Very
interesting thing they're
interesting.
playing. It's an intellectual game. Yeah.
But I want to just also say, you know, we spoke. I mean, and I know we're not talking Ukrainian war now, but obviously there's a lot of horrible things going on there now, and you know, no matter who the war's at, it is always a disgusting, and just the amount of innocent lives that get lost is just horrific. However, you know, speaking about acting and actresses and stuff, we know that Zelensky, the Ukrainian prime minister or president, whatever he is, was an actor, and he actually played the Ukrainian president a couple of years ago. And hello, voila, a few years later, here he is, the president of the Ukraine. Now, you know, we've heard a lot of stuff about the Ukraine as well. I've definitely, we've had intel that it's a very, very strong Nazi stronghold. There's a lot of adreno harvesting that goes on there. In the catacombs, there's a whole lot of bioweapons and things being created, stuff like that. So I'm wondering, what do you have to say about that? Just linking, let's say, the acting side, the Zelensky character, to the fact that he is now president, to the fact that he's clearly got the backing of the New World Order, and he's clearly a puppet.
Yeah, Ukraine is a puppet state of the U.S. It is a puppet state of the U.S. We created it, basically. We recrafted it. We made it into a criminal state where those people are terrorized. And it was the Pentagon and the different alphabet boys that actually set it up. We have the article of Brian Fitzpatrick going to Ukraine in 2015. And then we see advertisements for scientists for biolabs in 2015 after he does that. What they did was we were thumbing their nose at Putin. Russia was trying to ignore what was going on. We wanted to make them the bad guys. And so what we did was we went and just destabilized Ukraine, made it into a thuggish state where the people are terrorized by our own elements from our country instituting it. And it was Brian Fitzpatrick that went there, and they did a cover article in the Philadelphia Inquirer, our local newspaper where I was born, where my sister's in his pocket. It is Brian Fitzpatrick along with Trudeau's man going over there under the anti-corruption department, they claim, bureau. And they go over there and they uproot their stabilized government. They uproot it by getting rid of character assassinations of their top people, like the Attorney General equivalent Shokin. And what happens is you have Biden's son and others wanting a piece of the pie at the same time. So when you have a criminal state being manufactured by the U.S., you then have different people looking to cash in on the upheaval. So they're looking to cash in that disrupted government. Ukrainian people are beautiful people, and they've been handed a raw deal by this country, the U.S. And that U.S. is using that to do this whole thing. In fact, it was the Rothschilds that said that without Ukraine, their plans for the New World Order could fall short. They need a criminal state controlled, a puppet state by the U.S. So an actor as a president, of course. The U.S. is guilty of war crimes. We're the ones that are harming those citizens. It is the Russians that are shipping in humanitarian supplies. And the media is painting it totally different. The Russians are helping the people who are starving and being brutalized and tortured since 2015. So it is not what you see in the media. And the U.S. thought that Putin wouldn't do anything about it. And they act that way. Our guys act that way. Alphabet boys act that way. Pentagon acts that way, that if you don't put up a fuss, we'll run you under the bus. And they did. And so we started experimenting over there. We are guilty of such war crimes. It's insane. We are a criminal nation. The U.S. is a criminal nation. And now the timelines have changed. And so now they're doing raids on the homes of even Trump. You ready? Yeah.
I want to just before we go there, when we talk about the timeline change, and I want to just before we go there, I want to just say I agree. I know we have a lot of American viewers and stuff, so this is nothing against America.
No apologies. It's what we're living.
I want to just make that clear. But definitely, America and the US, UK, are guilty of horrific crimes against humanity on this
worst
continent.
Ever in history. Worst ever in history. Yeah.
I'm not even talking about the rest of the world. What they've done and the wars they've created and the suffering. I mean, and I'm not just talking about going in and deciding they've got to be the peacekeepers in certain places, but they go in there, send their troops, and they destroy.
We're not
and then they
peacekeepers, we're
and then they
explorers.
steal our resources.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just disgusting. You
That's
know,
what
it's
they call it peacekeepers, when actually it's thievery, exploitation, experimentation, brutalization, torturing. We made torture legal.
Yeah.
We should hang our heads in shame in this country.
When you're looking,
and the
when
thing
you're
is, it's
looking,
beautiful people in this country that are forced by these alphabet boys. Look at my sister. Why was my sister selected, an unlicensed elementary school counselor, to have all these rewards and all these, the floor of Congress, her picture held up? Why? Why?
Yeah.
We are.
Well, I mean, you know, it's, for me, it's very easy to see. For whatever the reason, America is the superpower of the world. They do call the shots. So there's obviously a lot of people that are, you know, countries that would want to oppose them, because they generally would be quite boorish in their approach. But I know that's what they've done. I mean, there was a book written, The Economic Hitman, written by a guy a couple of years ago. And I mean, I remember he was interviewed on local television here. And he told us that he was sent here by the governments to corrupt the people and corrupt the leaders. And if they don't want to be corrupted, they get taken out. It's as simple as that. We want your resources. We want to steal it, and we want it, and we're going to get it. And if you don't give it, we're going to take it through awful means. So yes, I do agree. And I know that's not really the topic now, but this has been an ongoing process throughout the world. So yes, America has a lot of karma. America's got a lot of karma with the rest of the world, that's for sure. Anyway, in having said that, we understand. I would like to just explain to someone, you know, someone is talking about the jumping timelines and being part of the program or whatever. I don't even know. This is not what we're talking about, guys. Please, I just want you guys to listen very carefully. It's so subtle what's happening right now. It's a natural process of events that occurs. It doesn't, you don't stand there and physically jump from one timeline to the other because you're scared and you want to whatever. That's not what it's about. What happens is that things are set in motion. There's a certain way that things go, and this is the way that they've been planning for years.
Yes.
Let's just go back, and I mean, if we're looking at our previous interviews with Jessie as well, where she spoke about how the kids would be the Looking Glass Project, Star Wars Now, and the Voice of God. There would be kids selected to work with these three projects and do remote viewing and literally see the future of events. And this is why in The Simpsons and what's that other one again? With Kyle, I know that funny character, his name is Kyle. I don't know why, I just remember him.
South Park, yeah.
South Park, that one, yes, that one. There's a lot of futuristic events that have been planned, and you can see it, right? Now, we've done a show with Jessie before where she actually explains how that works. So they work with these kids, they plan these events, they have the ones with special gifts that are able to see a probable outcome or a probable future, and then they go and create these cartoons around it. And then it's like, oh, wow, how is that even possible? You know, bottom line is these guys have done this for a long, long time. So my point is that they have had a certain agenda. Now, their agenda has been to fulfill X, Y, and Z by a certain timeline. They did not anticipate us waking up. So when we wake up, it automatically changes the course of their events, which is why it's like, suddenly they can't just take us all out in one foul swoop. There's a lot of now resistance and all sorts of chaos. Things are not going according to their plan anymore. So that's what we mean when we say the timelines are shifting. So in other words, or the frequencies are changing, or we're moving to a higher dimension. Whatever whatever lingo you use, that's what it is. So no, there's no programming that goes on moving to a higher frequency. Okay, it's something that automatically happens if you as a person have woken up, are in alignment, and have been able to raise your vibration through understanding, love, compassion, not being complying with bullshit that you know is not true to you. It's as simple as that. So that's what we're talking about here.
Okay. I want to add for you is the idea that what happened with me. Where do the inventions come from? Where did the understanding of the future that's coming true? How did 99%, if not all, of that screenplay came right? That it's right, that they're drunk on it. They're wondering, how did you know our plans? From a false second coming being planned to neural links to you name it. How did Tom Althouse come up with that? It fascinates them. And the idea was I went through a training session of learning to be compassionate, clear my mind, not have any bad inputs, only positive, layered thinking, and that allowed a flow of information that came true. That's what it was. And it's like, and they are wanting to know how that works. And we are considered like Steven Spielberg's Minority Report. They're considering, how do we get this information truth? How do we know what's going to happen? I'm one of them, prodigy kid. I know that. And even internet comes from my experience, my understanding that way. And I pitched it to my professors at Millersville University. I didn't want to be there, so I just pitched it, didn't even take the class, pitched it at the end, and they were drunk on it. These 3 professors who were invited from Silicon Valley to come out there loved the idea of the windows and everything else that Bill Gates became the richest man on. And now we have Elon Musk become the richest man off of the Neuralink stuff and things like that. It's all from here. This person, that's why they put so much attention on me and put all this stuff in the films. But the key to doing this was clearing my mind, no negative inputs, being compassionate, loving, caring, and open to whatever is there that channels it through. And that's what caused it. I felt like I was just trained through that. I was trained to receive it. And I'm blown away just like everybody else that it flew and it happened. So there is no hocus pocus involved. It really was. It shows us something. To be the best we can be, to be the kindest, compassionate, loving, we will be the most creative. We will be the ones that receive actual information from somewhere. You know, now I say God.
I want to just add, like, just before you, sorry to interrupt, when we connect with that creativity, art has always inspired science. Art has always inspired progress. I mean, it's through art that everything has kind of stepped out, science, everything. When you go into that creative process, I mean, even creating fire in that sense. So the light can create. The good guys, what I want to say, is like creation is like, so they need that. I mean, how many movies has inspired, or how many comic books and movies has inspired science to actually go explore stuff? Because when you're in that state of creativity, you're in line with God. You're always aligned with God.
That's right.
So that's how they use that, and then they can take that, and then they can use it or hide it away or whatever. But right now, they're using movies to actually distract us as well and try to force us into a timeline. They're using movies to program what the creators have already predicted.
Right.
And they're like trying to stop us from. But they don't know. They have no idea where it could go because they don't have that creativity.
Well, you just hit you hit such an important point. The reason we saw that thing about Hawthorne and Aberson, that kind of thing, and then God so loved the world created the only begotten son Tom. Reason that's in there is because trying to own the authors who actually have freed up as kids, whereas children we freed up, in order to think and compassion and clear the mind and only have positive. We are the ones that are considered their assets. That's why they're sticking all that information in. That's the question. Answer the question when they throw out, well, why does he think it's about him? They're telling me it's about me. It's not an ego trip. It's a threat. It is a problem for me that they're so focused on me. It's not about Tom. It's about my work and my abilities that were evolved naturally as a child. And so they marked me early on. And I went through hell my entire life. I've got the scars to show it. It is not a fun trip. I'd rather not have the attention and just be creating the work. And now put us in a position where I cannot present my work. I had to bury it in a trash bag. The 14, 15 now, other films, as Aiden's advised, with no metal, no staples, no way to find it. So I had to stop and put the stops on my creative abilities and bury it, literally bury it in the dirt. You think why we're stopped right now, where there's not much innovation going on, and why there's so much rehash in Hollywood? Because they targeted those of us that actually know how to create. And what did Matrix 4 do? Did you like Matrix 4? Was it innovative? Was it exciting? Did it stimulate your mind? No, because that's the garbage bit of them that can't create, because I know they didn't go through the right process. Wachowskis are more interested in their groin and also what's there or not there, and having the success and exploiting others and getting rich and having fame. And that is not what's coming from us, the actual authors that create the work they steal from. And so we have to literally bury our work in order to stay alive now. But that means a golden age is coming when we get to dig that up someday. When it rights itself, we change America around in other countries where we get to be sovereign states again, where people actually love and get to be free without threats of being their homes raided, without threats of their children being killed, which are all through the work. So now they made me ahead of all this, while mocking and having shills go, look at an ego he has, look at the ego he has. I'm not the one sticking my information in the films, and I don't want my information in the films, and I keep being told it's there and pointed out exactly where it's there. And that's why I'm pissed off about that thing about God so loved the world that he created his only begotten son, Tom. Enough. Enough. And that's supposed to feed the people to go, look at the ego he has. I didn't put it there. I don't even want to be on the radar. I don't want to be part of your circus out there.
But we know
family. I want to have a family and have a life. And they're not allowing that. And then they claim ego. Part of the training I had is no ego. Believe it or not, you go through a training where you don't have an ego. And that upsets the other side. They're afraid of that. They're afraid of a man or woman who doesn't have an ego. And people would say, well, everybody has an ego. No, because you're told that because of Freud studies and things. That's crap. That's garbage. No, we don't have to have an ego. And you get rid of your ego about the wanting for yourself, you can free up the world. It's the other side that prays about the ego and says that it's all about power and the ego. And look at my sister, what she became. But look at my sister before she was turned. You can live in the ego-less life and your creativity will flow. It's not about money. It's not about the fame. It's not about exploiting others or having some trophy wife or husband. It is about creating great work that changes the world, that frees our children, lifts our world, and gives glory to what? To an idea of all of us succeeding together, that all of us have a better world, a safer world. And I'm passionate about it. You can tell those of us that are genuine because we still have our passion for others. Because once you enter the system, it disappears like my sister did. That she can murder my own father in his bed, starve him to death by being his POA, and have no feelings about it, walk out of his funeral. Because it's the first thing you're taught is to, in their side, is to put, quote, put your feelings in the freezer. Don't feel anymore. That's their order when it's all about power. My teaching is this: feel fully, feel in layers. Don't lose all of the positive feelings and compassion. Compassion is the real power. And it won't corrupt. When you have compassion and power, it won't corrupt. You can't be corrupted when only positive is there. And then you watch the creativity flow. I've got 15 more screenplays better than The Matrix. And they know it. It's on tape. They know it. But I can't release it to the world. They'll just take it and my son will die. So I have to wait for the time where it changes. And this country, the USA, is the worst country on the planet in the history since ancient Rome. Worse than ancient Rome. We have done more crimes against humanity, you blame it. And we play the victim and we blame others and say that we're just trying to create peace and police. No, we're not. We're exploiting, going in and creating reasons to do it. False reasons all the way from Pearl Harbor to Vietnam to you name it. We have done false flags over and over and over for justification to go in, even in Panama with Teddy Roosevelt. We have done anything in order to get in and take resources and claim them. The way we're going to change our world around is by the banking system and the legal system. We're going to reclaim the legal system and the banking system. And that's going to change the game. Even Putin knew that when he went in to help Ukraine. And I say, help Ukraine. He sent humanitarian aid to those poor people in Ukraine. And then he sent in attorneys. He knows the real battleground right now. The reason they strangleholded us in this country is they control the law enforcement, they control the courts, and they control the banks. Enslaved everybody in this country. And there's good people in this country, really good people. And there's people that serve in the armed forces that are just heroes. But it doesn't matter with a state that's going to be controlling what's happening. We've got to get rid of the FBI. We've got to get rid of the FBI. And I don't mean hurt people. I mean dissolve the institution. It failed its job. It is a rogue disease. It is hurting families. You can go into anybody's home and find anything, or if it's not there, they'll plant it there. They can do that. And that's why our timeline has changed. Our timeline has changed where now, and when I say timeline has changed, it's in the screenplay. What happens is if the other side sees you getting word out, they have to change their game. It's like they own the referees. They're running on the playing field. They say, stop this game, and they start searching your homes. Stop this game, and they start pulling players away. That's what's happening. That's the timeline change. They're so desperate. They're rushing in now to stop the game.
What is happening? I mean, speaking about raiding houses and stuff, I mean, there's a big thing about Trump being raided. I think it was yesterday, Trump's house being raided. What do you make about that? Do you know anything about that? What's your take?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Trump was actually familiar with our situation. He knows what's going on with our situation. In fact, the word was that my mom would have dinner with Trump, that he knows that we're kind of like, he considers a hero, that doing what we're doing, and many like us, what we're doing. He knows what's in the films too. But the thing is that they wanted to stop the timeline. They wanted to change it. Get a grip of it. They've lost the ponies. They've lost the horse. It's running free. The stagecoach is running free. So they have to regain the reins. Raiding the house is one of the ways. They can put anything in there, anything. People will keep documents in order for personal safety and protection. They will keep records. You can break into the director of the FBI's home and find all kinds of goodies. I guarantee you, if it was able to be done, you'd find things in any category you want. Or if you don't find them, do what they do. You could plant it there. And that's what they do. If they don't find it, they plant it. They're there for a win. They are raiding places where they're going to make sure they have a win. It's not a waste of their time. They're going to make sure they're going to get what they want. And if they don't find it, they'll put it there. And that way they can get the reins of the horse again and control our way to the one world society. And what's
do you think this is the beginning of a lot more of this ramshackling going on?
It's Crystal Knock. What we're seeing now, it's from like World War II Germany, Nazi Germany, Crystal Knock. You've already seen the false flag, the Parliament of Germany, basically, where you do the false flag and the things come tumbling down. And we blame it on somebody else. It was in-house, the same people. In-house, they bragged about it when I was recruited by the Masons. They bragged about it, said it was common knowledge. There's no such thing as a pancake theory. Doesn't happen. Buildings don't fall free fall. They just don't do that, especially when they're reinforced to withstand stuff. They don't. Otherwise, what kind of contractor was there? Was he building it with Play-Doh? It doesn't happen. Even Play-Doh doesn't fall at free fall. So what you have is a situation where they've done that, and then you have Crystal Knock. Crystal Knock, the night where they broke all the glass. They raided the homes. They raided the businesses. That's where we are now. Why? Because they're losing, and they're desperate, and they're scared that they've lost control because the truth is outshining it. They've even called in their truther markers. Different infiltrators in the truth movement have been called in to make their moves. I won't name names. They've been called in to make their moves now to shut down those actually telling the truth, to stop them. That's going on right now. So they're revealed. So basically all the cards are on the table. All the assets are being revealed. Everything's out in the open. That means they're desperate. They've fired every shot and every round they have. And here we are, all doing it peacefully, intelligently, compassionately, and just bringing truth forward to try to free kids, make a difference, just like why the work was written. Are we passionate about it? I hope so. Because I'm telling you, passion and compassion both are a key to the next level of society's and humanity's development that'll make us a better species and a better world. Compassion and passion have to remain through this terrible time of the Dark Ages, where Rome rules again, and Rome is panicking. The enemy's at the gates in their mind. The truth is at the gates. The truth is at the gates.
It seems to me, though, that, as this everything, is speeding up, and we understand, Hollywood is definitely CIA. We've known this for quite a while, and all these, whatever goes on in there. But with all this desperation going on now, like as we say, with Trump being raided yesterday, to me, I would think that's the beginning of quite a bit more to come.
Oh, yes, it is.
what did you call it? The crystal knock. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that phrase before. Just explain that to me, please. What is the crystal knock?
In World War II Germany, they went
Yeah.
around and they smashed all the businesses and homes of Jewish people. They went around and destroyed it. That was their time to create the terror. Right now, this is a time of terror. If you invade people's homes without reason, without cause, now they'll come up with any cause they want. Why was that one man murdered in Florida? Like I said, why was he murdered? An engineer who had never bothered anybody, never done anything. They said, we suspect him of having an illicit image. An illicit image? What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, I can tell you through my experience, they pulled up an image of me doing the MC in Cabaret, a great role. It's a great role. But in that role, you're required to dress in drag on stage. Say a picture of me to try to put, for Robertson's purposes, to say, look at Tom Althouse. He's dressed as a woman. That was the costume I was given for the MC role, which is the lead role in a big show on Maui. So what is going on? That's what I mean. They'll take anything and they'll turn it into, and if they don't have it, they'll plant it. They'll plant it. And I'll give you an example of planting. In the case where they threw my case, the Matrix case and all, they actually had, in the end, a guy named SunKidz SoulSchool, who was, his whole education was paid for by the Bill Gates Foundation to be an attorney from India. From India. Take the poor kid from India, give him this Bill Gates Foundation total payment as long as you work for them and do every lie and deceit you can. And so the last thing we had in that situation was pounding on our door with a courier at 6 a.m. in the morning to hand us a package from their law firm that said this. An email from SunKidz SoulSchool to his boss, Michael McCartney. That's, and it said, Tom Althouse came up to me and whispered in my ear, I'm going to kill you, ... really bad. What the hell? So they fabricated an email, or they had an email to fabricate that I made death threats to an attorney personally. And he goes, and he glorified himself. He goes like this. And I responded just laughing and smiling. I just responded like that. I'm not going to press charges. Yeah, like that happened. The guy had a temper off the wall. What really happened was this. And I'm saying how they plant stuff and turn things around. This is an example. How they do this in the courts and stuff. I had gone up to the guy after a motion to compel. And I said this. I said, you're going down. And I walked on. And he screamed down the hall, ASSHOLE, as loud as he could. I turned around and said, well, that's really professional behavior. And then so he comes up to me, goes, go ahead and touch me. See what happens. Go ahead and touch me. I said, forget it. What are you talking about? And I walked away. And he goes, loser, down the hall. Then he follows me down the hall. And I'm on the phone to the honeypot wife, on the phone going, this guy's following me. Just keep going. Just keep going. Then he finally goes in the bathroom. So then he turns that into that I called him that I threatened him, his life. Well, that's convenient. And that's your evidence for a summary judgment? Your email to your boss that you share the office with is entered as evidence? See, they create, they fabricate, they plant. If they don't have anything on you, you can have the cleanest life in the world. Compassion, passion, love. Doesn't matter. They'll get you. And they'll have a crystal knocked. They will come and destroy your lives. Kill your children, destroy your businesses, take your homes. That's what they're doing. So they're desperate right now. They're making their moves right now because they know. What was I told? Don't do any higher level interviews or you and your son will die. Get out of God's way. Really? Really? And what happens to Alex Jones when negotiations are going on to appear on his program? Monkey trial. Behind closed doors. Oh. They are very concerned about Hawthorne, Aberson, Althouse, Anderson. Very concerned. For God so gave his only begotten son. That's blasphemy. And that's supposed to make the mindset of people think, oh, what an ego he has. Look, it's even in Mind in the High, dripped in Man in the High Castle. With everything in there for my grandpa's name on a terminal list. On a terminal list. Lemuel. How many people are named Lemuel? His name is the last list on the assassination list. In Minority Report, in Man in the High Castle, in Minority Report with Steven Spielberg, it's Captain John Anderton. Sean is the son murdered. That causes a pre-crime for Tom Cruise's character, my dad's name, my dad's rank, my son who was murdered, to be put away, as I was hauled off many times by SWAT teams working for the FBI, to be put away forever in stasis. And that's a pre-crime by Steven Spielberg. What's interesting in Philip K. Dick novels, Man in the High Castle, Minority Report, Philip K. Dick said he didn't want his work altered. But after his death in 1982, Spielberg comes along and alters it completely. They have a book out now that I have where they're saying, yeah, we altered it completely, but we'll think Philip Dick would approve. Really? He said not to touch his work or mess with it. But what did you do? We researched it. There is no Sean. There is no son. There is no murder of a son that causes Tom Cruise's character to be put away in the original work, which Philip Dick didn't want altered. There's nothing about that. And its rank isn't captain. That's added by Spielberg. So captain's added. Dad's name, captain, rank. My son's name, Sean, is added. That's all added. And then The Good Place, you see October 14, 1982, Shawn Michael from Universal Studios, where my work was taken by Robertson's group to Universal Studios through Ned and Judy Nankovich to Universal Studios. And Universal Studios puts my son's exact birthday, October 14, 1982, with Shawn Michael. Shawn Michael was my son murdered. His birthday was October 14, 1982. And then Spielberg in Saving Private Ryan puts the two fictitious characters, the sons that are murdered. It's too much for any family to bear, for any parent to bear, is Sean and Daniel. My son's name is Sean again. My other son murdered, Kirk Daniel. Spielberg, you're a jerk. You're a jerk. And now it's time for the public to realize this is not ego. You can't create with ego. You can't create well. Look at Matrix 4. And wait till you see the real work the Immortals made and see how it ties in, how everything ties together. That's done through compassion, love, and no ego. And it's possible not to have an ego. And I don't have one, and I don't want one. And I don't want to be part of this world with ego. I want to have a world where it's actually, that's why I'm writing this stuff, to create a world where children are safe and we have compassion for each other. We value each other, where we can't even imagine one of us not being there. That's my world. That's my character. That's my way. And I'm not what they want. Yeah.
I really think, where we're at right now, and I know we've understood how they've terrorized you over the years, I think would be the words. And not just you, but obviously there's a lot of, I mean, as I said, just speaking to Penny Shepherd a couple of weeks ago, hearing her story and what they've done with her and a lot of others as well. But this is also where, now that we've seen what they do, and I think it's really good to understand it. And I think you've done a great job showing us how they do it and, how they repeat and how sneakily it's done and how subtly, and it's this psychological warfare all the time, sort of.
That you feel like there's a gun to your head. You feel like that. And you see family loved ones bought. I mean, I predict this. Here's my prediction. Very soon, the sheriff's department will do a raid on my home. We'll do a raid. They won't have the FBI here. It'll be FBI like sheriff's department, dressed like sheriff's department. They don't want it high profile. They want this low profile. So they send a sheriff's department to do a search. If they don't find anything, they'll put something there. And I guarantee you what they'll try to put here is ladies' lingerie. They'll try to say that I cross-dress. They'll try to say that because I've been seeing shills start to say, he lisps when he talks. He has a lisp. Really? Really? So that's what, so they plant that stuff through shills in order to then follow through with their departments. So that's how I know what they would plant. I guarantee you're going to see what they would try to put on me would be, but from what I'm hearing from the noise they're trying to suggest, which is totally out there, ladies' lingerie they would put in my home. Poor Aiden. We live in a small apartment, but it's like that. This is what they're going to stick on his dad. What would that do to my son? Child porn. They would try to stick that on me. They would try to stick also drugs because they've been saying things. This is all from shill information and threats. And no, that's not my home. None of those are in my home. But the FBI, through the sheriff's department, would put it there. I've already know that through how their attorneys work. And then that would be broadcast on a very shallow way out there. Keep in mind, a terminal list. The terminal list, that's exactly where we are right now. That terminal list. And the High Castle, the last name is my great-grandfather's name, Lemuel. It's like such a unique name. So that is where we are. The list process, the crystal knot, the terminal list, the move quickly, get referees on the field to disrupt the game, to change the timeline back, to grab the reins of the runaway horses because they're desperate. They've got to get a grip back on their timeline, their agenda.
But I think what if we're looking at the difference between where we're at now and let's say at the time of the when the Nazis were running rampant, there are a lot more people who are aware now, I think, than what there were before. And this is where we're going to shift that timeline. And please, I didn't say jump, I said shift. Big difference. There's a big difference between jumping a timeline and when a timeline shifts. Okay? We're talking about when the timeline shifts, and it happens of itself because more and more people are aware and awake. So with you here now, can you hear me? You look very...
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so everything just went frozen there for a minute, and I've been having internet issues.
Of course.
So it's about us being aware. Social media is a beautiful thing. As much as what they use it to spy on us and things like that, it really is a great way to keep connected, to share messages, to share our, information and stuff like that, which we are doing now. And it's really good to understand that, as you're saying, Tom, it's like the crystal knock. They now start raiding homes. So when we see people like Trump's home being raided, what you're saying is you could potentially be next. We're going to start seeing more and more things like this as well.
Right.
It's about being aware to see what they're doing, to really see what these guys are actually up to. So I think that's important.
There's a man's name that was given to me too from the inside too. I really like him. His name's Tucker. He does that Fox News thing, Tucker. He's one of the next ones. They've already leaked it that they're going after him too. So they want to go after Tucker. Anybody who's telling truths, that's bringing stuff out with passion and compassion, is on the list, the terminal list. That's why it's the #1 show in the country right now. They're trying to make our sufferings into entertainment.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people claiming to be the ones and things like this, but there's just a few players that are actually considered assets for their side. Trump is one, Tucker's one, Alex Jones actually one, considered. I am one. People who did the work. See, now there's a lot of people claiming to be the ones, but the thing is, you have to have a body of work or influence in the public. You can't just be coming up and saying, I own a mom and pop shop, and therefore they're after me. There's a lot of that going on because that's part of the noise. No, you have to create a screenplay that took off, that was wanted, that was asked by Bonaventura. You have to have been a president, basically. You have to be somebody who's a leader. That's your real list. But there's a lot of noise going on and a lot of attention seeking beyond. Penny and I came together over this situation. I knew they had planted stuff about her. But the thing is that we need to actually focus in now where their plan is this. They actually say the public is sheep. They believe that when they make their move now, besides putting that stuff that, Morné was showing up on the screen, Tom, what they're doing is they're now going to make their move on the homes. And they do expect that, just like they put the stuff in plain sight, that the public will do nothing about it. And they'll just let it happen and try to knuckle in and be safe and keep themselves safe and cave in. That's exactly what they want. Everybody stay in your homes and protect yourself and wait for further instructions. That's what they're expecting. Yeah. So they don't think anything's going to happen. They're rolling the dice. They're coming on the fields. They're disrupting the game. They're taking the players off the field. They don't think anybody will make a fuss. They do it one by one. But watch for Tucker, and God bless him. I hope he knows that he's on that list, that terminal list. So Tucker, if you're there, do what you can. Do what you can. But it's time for us to reveal what's going on. Now, the noise from all these other people going, well, I'm that too, and I'm under this, and I'm in the films. There's a lot of people coming forward saying their names are in the films. No. You have to, if it's like 100 times in there and it's clear as Spielberg and as clear as Man in the High Castle and things like this, then yes, I'm with you. And Penny's like that. I agree with Penny. She's in there. I see it. But those of us that are in there, we know. We've been told we're in there for a reason. We're told we're in there and where to look. The first graphic in the Matrix, my high school, my birthday, my dad's name, yeah, that's all there. And then people end up with this loop going, well, why would they put it there? Get off that loop. It's there. They said it's there for a reason. They're mocking the actual author. If I didn't write the work, then yeah, sure. Why would it be there? But if I wrote the work that became a blockbuster and they did have me pitch that work and made billions off it, then you don't think it would be there? Of course it's there. Why would you be asking, why would they do that? What a question. What? That's what the other side's counting on. Those kind of crazy questions. It's like, yeah.
Well, I think the only thing that we, as I said, we can do is to really just the best way to screw with their timeline is to wake up, take care of each other. I say this all the time.
And make the work. Make the work. Make the work they're afraid of. Do what they're most afraid of. Make the Immortals. Make the Matrix the way it was written and copyrighted, preceding them with a copyright. Use the legal system and the banks and everything. Let's use what they fear most. Let's make the film. We have the copyright. It precedes the Matrix. It has all the stuff in it. Everybody will see how it ties together. Matrix 4, was that exciting? Let's see the way it's supposed to be. That's how you win. That's what they're afraid of. They tell you what they're afraid of. They call with Sophia Stewart, the one who claims out of USC that's the Warner Brothers plant, in-house plant. She says, you can't make that film. They're afraid of the film being made. You can't do your court case. They're afraid of the court case being done. You shouldn't be doing interviews. They're being struck. They're afraid of the interviews going out. It's so simple. They let you know what they fear most to win the game. So to win the game, let's do interviews. Let's do the court case when it's right. And let's make the film before that. And the documentary. Let's do everything they just told us. It's ABC soup. It is so simple. They tell you what they fear most because they're scared kids, bad kids. They're scared. These guys are scared, spoiled, rotten brats. And all you have to do is do what they call you not to do. When they say, don't do this, do it. So we do the Matrix film, this world will change. They know that. We do the documentary. Exactly. We know that. We go to court with them and with the right due process, the right people, like they say not to, we do that. We do interviews and we share this stuff. We do that. We got them. All they can do is raid homes. But when they go to my home, they won't find anything. My screenplays are buried in a plastic bag with no metal clips, like my son said. So my stuff's already buried, FBI. It's buried. You come here, you have to plant stuff. Maybe you can put drugs on my fish. Or maybe you can put something in my refrigerator. But the thing is, I'm telling the world right now, there's nothing here. You think I'd be that stupid? I know the raids are going on. I know that I've been told they're going to come. Royce Babcock, the guy that's connected to somebody we know, is said, they're coming for you next. So we already know. So what? So you think I have stuff in my house? No. But the world needs to know, if they come to my house in my particular situation, there's nothing here. Whatever they have will be planted. So, yeah, let's catch on to their game. Let's catch on to their strategy. And let's win this thing. Make the film. Yeah. In my case, make the film, documentary, interviews, and what was the other one they were afraid of? The court case. Court case with a fair venue. They can't. Well, I mean, my God, with the information we've got, with the exact birthday on the phone in Animatrix 7259. Good night, Wachowskis. Good night, Jill Silver. And okay, I can't wait for the new organization that will replace the FBI and CIA because you guys failed. It's enough putting your voices on the phones and threatening. Stop hurting the citizenry, not only of the U.S., but the world. The game's over. It's not a business for profit. You're not a federal agency. You're a private agency. You were brought in to do espionage and hurt people and to terrorize. We don't need you. We don't need the Grinch in the Christmas celebration. We don't.
Yeah, it's all part of that whole cabal system, We don't
need them. We don't need them, and we don't need a court controlled by Hollywood and the FBI and CIA. We don't need it. And a Hollywood industry, we don't need a film industry controlled by these guys either. They think they own the world. That is actually from the Immortals screenplay. The main character, my character that I wrote about myself in it, Neo, Thomas A., Jim Reese, that character is a lower echelon CIA, FBI department head. Ta-da! Which meant that the organization was bad. And Central, in the Smith agents in the Matrix, they are part of Central in the original work, which is the governing body in the One World Order from the CIA. No wonder they wanted to cleanse the script. No wonder they don't want it made. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've got this. And they're the ones saying we've won the chess game. They're fans of the work. So it's going to work out. It's going to be good. So the happy ending is going to happen after Crystal Knocked. The sky will clear and the rays will shut.
I think it's so good. Knowledge is power. And I love this, it's like just being aware and conscious and understanding and not being swept away by that complete wave of fear, I think are very, very important things. And as I keep saying, stay centered, stay tuned, stay aligned, pray, meditate, practice discernment. These definitely are choppy waters at the moment.
And don't get swept down the river of debate and noise. If you find yourself, it's like let's just gossip. Don't get down the river of noise and piddling over little things like, I don't know what you said. It was something about jumping or timelines. It's like word choices, things like that, or this host and you're bashing this host. That host is, better than this host. I'm a fan of this host. No, be a fan of the children. Be a fan of creativity. Be a fan of compassion and kindness. And let's all work together. It's a good time to be listeners now. It's a good time to actually get together and just share joy, support, love. Let's stop being turned on each other. And let's stop looking for ways to accuse each other of turning on each other. And let's start lifting each other. And we've got this. If we do that, it has no power. It, like the movie, has no power unless we have fear. Unless we fight on each other.
Exactly. Fear it. The only thing to fear is fear itself.
That's right. We've got to be united. While we're united,
the solution is compassion.
That's right.
If one has truly compassion, you cannot fear or judge anybody else anymore.
That's the thing.
You're either very humble and accepting to death, or you're very tolerant and understanding to indifference. Compassion is a superpower.
That's it. I found myself going on like this, where people will come to me, different parties will be like, you accused so-and-so of I'm like, no, I didn't. No, but why? Can we get back on the track of solving the problem and making things right? And I'll say nice things to whoever thinks they were accused, but it's like, no, I didn't do that on the public. No, I'm just trying to say, let's get the job done. Let's all get the job done. Let's stop wasting time arguing and get the job done. And we can celebrate and lift each other in joy and compassion, with compassion, in the process. And the other side doesn't know what to do with that. Doesn't know what to do with that. And let's stop talking about he talks too fast, or she talks too fast, or she used that word. It's like, what the heck? We are dealing with such major material in such a time in history that's never been before. We're going to talk about that. That's what you've been remembered for? Well, I stood up and told him he slurs his words. I was the one that told him he uses hair gel. I'm the one that told him that, he lisps. That was me. It's like, yeah, well, way to solve the world's problems. You tried to create a trouble. Great. Let's just solve the problem. Let's finish the work.
Let's focus on the positive. Let's stand together and let's make it happen. Guys and gals, thank you so much. It's been an amazing hour with Tom again. And as we always say, time flies when you're having fun. Tom, thank you so much for joining us again. Really, really, really great to chat with you and just see where things are at. Always so interesting. So thank you for that. Not sure if there's anything that you just want to say, that you want to add in closing before we let each other.
I just got the idea. I'm going to have some milk and cookies ready for the sheriff's department when they come to do their raid. I will put it on
chip cookies.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get the recording devices so it happens. I'll try to record it when they come. They may not want to come now, but I'll have milk and cookies. I'll have the recording devices ready.
Donuts, Tom, donuts. They
want
donuts.
Donuts. That's right. Right. Okay. You got it. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to, that's what I do to people that pull up in the front and the police say they're not harming anything. They're there, just doing their job. I'm like, bring them cookies. So yeah, I'm just going to, I think I'll be ready with that now. I'm going to get some Sandies or what was it called? Donuts.
It's something like when Father Christmas comes down the chimney and you got to leave him milk and cookies. You can leave them chip cookies.
I'm going to have this little sign that maybe says "Welcome FBI." Cross that out and say Sheriff's Department because that's supposed to be, that's What I'm told is what they would do is they'll send the sheriff's department, but it's actually FBI. So it'll be FBI sheriff's department and donuts.
All right, Tom.
Very good.
It was fabulous talking to you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Morné, as always. And thank you so much to our viewers for supporting. Leave us some comments, give us a like, a share, a subscribe. If you haven't, and I think that's all I had to say. I think.
Speechless is a good thing. It's good.
Yes, it's not often I get speechless, but I just got speechless. No. Okay, guys, love you all. Take good care. God bless you all. See you soon.